a hard time not giggling with Jessica Kemejuk today. So let me just jump right in. Thank you for being here today, Jessica. It's a privilege. I'm looking forward to catching up with you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you, listeners and viewers, for making the choice to download and subscribe and listen to whylab. This is a safe environment for two people to have a face-to-face and vulnerable conversation, be curious and complimentary, and share it. So that's what we're going to do. And without further ado, I'm excited to have Jessie here. So Jessica Kemejuk is our guest today.
Hi. You said my name right.
I did?
Yeah. I mean, you can know people for 15 years and they won't say your name right, so thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I think when I wrote it down today, even in, oh, that was a sweet move, by the way.
Yeah, that was good. It was very...
When I wrote your name in saving the audio file, I was typing it out, and I was like, I don't know that I have typed Jessica's name out in a while. Am I spelling this correctly?
Oh, did you?
And so it was funny when you said that.
It's a lot of consonants.
Because I practiced it. I was like,
did you?
Jessica Kemejuk.
Yeah. It's, like the way that my dad says it and the way I say it and the way my aunts, it's just all different, so.
Yeah.
But that you say it the way I say it, so thank you.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Today's Friday. We just had a full week. And
Today's Friday the 13th.
It is Friday the 13th. Is anything weird happening, or?
No. Oh. I'm wearing black.
I think the last full moon of the year just ended.
It was on Wednesday night, 12/11, turning over into 12/12, I think.
Oh,
Not that I know these things.
I was about to say, did I just tap into some astrology?
Yeah. We're just talking about moons, right? Yeah.
I think you're actually right. And the only reason I read it was from like an Instagram post or something. So.
Instagram tells you a lot about a lot of things, good and bad.
Well, I'm trying to share these things.
Yes.
So that's why we're sitting here with all this stuff today.
Most importantly, this.
Yeah, I like the song. It gives it a little bit of cool vibe. So
it does.
Not that you need too much on the cool vibe. Oh, thanks. Jess, seriously.
Yeah.
I jest because I jest.
I know. I got that. But people don't use that enough. I
cuss myself.
Yeah.
We were trying to small talk at first, and I didn't want to jump in, and then we just kind of small talked a little. But I'm super excited that you're here today because there's been a gap in the time that we've seen each other. Jess and I go back almost a decade, I think like 8 or 9 years. And I was trying to think about some of the first times I remember really getting to know you better. And I think it was the Game of Thrones sessions that we would start having here, maybe season 2. Mm-hmm. And we would all get the candles and a bottle of wine and sit down on the couch and just cozy up and count down Game of Thrones.
There's no other way to watch it. I think I watched the last 2 seasons like on a laptop by myself, maybe one other person. I was like, this is awful. What happened to... And it's not awful. I mean, we can talk about... Anyway, but... No, just the way we used to watch it. Just everyone like lights off and, everyone's sitting on every seat is filled and we're so serious. Dogs are running around and no one's allowed to talk.
Oh gosh. I think I remember back to that group and, that time in our life, and there was just a lot of growing and we were sharing a space and getting to know each other. But that little group that formed, and I'd say even our Game of Thrones, that was a pretty tight little group. So I really appreciated that, and I had fun with the memory there.
Same. So much of it happened here in this space, so it's nice to be
That would have
here.
been exactly right after I bought the place. So it would have been about 6 years ago.
Yeah, and so we had already known each other before that, but I think when you started hosting that... And like Super Bowls and all that stuff.
Super Bowls and Game of Thrones.
I was here. Yeah.
Hey man, that's 2 things.
Important events.
So it's been a while, but I'm really grateful to have some of those memories. What I don't have are recent memories. And I was telling you when you walked in today, I just got a fresh cut for anybody that's out there. And I was having a conversation with my barber. And he was like, oh, you're going to do the podcast today? I said, yeah, I've got a friend coming over. I've known him for a while. I'm excited. We're just going to catch up. So we'll talk about anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, how long has it been? And I did the same thing that we did. Like, I don't know. I think it's been a long time.
With no seasons, it's hard to count, right? You're just like, was that a year or was that 5? No, I mean, we've chatted on the phone, I feel like, and text, but I don't know the last time I like saw you face to face.
Well, I would go to the Tim's wedding.
Wow.
Which was a few
2 years ago?
It was a couple of years ago.
Summer 2017.
So we'll get off that topic. That's a boring topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things there's so many things going on in your life, and I want to start with one first because I want you to walk me through it and sign me up. And that's one of your new projects, which is the senior, support a senior, or
adopt a senior.
Adopt a senior.
Yeah. So there's two parts of it. What's going on right now is just this week that actually I was like doing stuff all day for today, and we'll be continuing to throughout the week. Is just for the holiday season. Working with the Studio City Chamber of Commerce. It's me and this one wonderful angel woman who, when we're just reaching out to lots of different organizations that work with seniors who are low income. Most of them are homebound because of physical issues, and many of them don't have family members in the area. So they really depend on meal services and things like that to just, have just for their daily operations. But working with them to get the names of seniors and having them all write holiday wish lists. Yeah. And I've done it. This is the third year now. And you see these lists and you're just like, I think the main thing for why I even wanted to get into doing things with seniors is because my parents are a lot older than I think most people our age, but you watch them change, right? And I'm an only child, and I think you sometimes you go away for a second and you come back and you see how different they might look and how time is sitting with them, and it affects you, right? And it affects me. So I thought about like what would it be like if my dad were didn't have anyone to eat dinner with, or have or my mom were doing the same, or and so I avoided the whole area for a while because it was actually just like hurt my feelings too much. Personal, but now I'm in it. So the senior, the holiday drive is just fulfilling these wish lists. Yeah. So things like you look at these lists and some of them are like toasters, and some of them are very specific. It's like a pink robe and fuzzy slippers, or and so just in the middle of people are either doing it themselves and shopping and sending a little note and a card and getting all that done, or a lot of people don't have time. So I'm dedicating 2 days next week to just shop.
You are unbelievable.
All day.
You're incredible. I don't even know. I didn't even know how to start with you. And I was like, well, let's just start with the most recent thing I saw you post.
Yeah.
And I knew that today, Friday, I was going to see you. And I'm like, sweet, I'm adopting a senior today. Because I'm like, this would be fun. We'll do it on the podcast. You can walk me through it.
Yes.
Because I think you had a deadline of today because you had to commit your time for next week. I just happen to have a lot of time on my hands. So I would love to get someone and actually go out and meet them and spend time with them.
Well, for this particular, so it's two different parts. So this particular one, it's a lot of people that are in their own homes. And so not everyone wants, someone to just come into the home.
They have the natural caregiver they're comfortable with.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so this is just like part of a service that's being provided. But there is another part of it, which is something that I started, I think it's now been, or it was last summer. Time is such a funny thing. An Adopt a Senior
Time is
program.
Relative, right?
It's so weird.
Maybe that's what I remembered is that you'd started something where you could go out and visit the seniors and like sit with them and hang out.
Yes, so that's it's modeled after the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. If you're familiar, the whole point is I'm a big sister, and so I've had my sister now for 4.5 years. So it came from that, where it's just having a relationship, but a consistent one with someone. And so that is working out of a specific home right here on Fairfax, actually. So it's close by.
Oh, I can walk there.
Yeah, Fairfax and Melrose. I don't know if you know the one right across from there's
the school.
The trading post. Yes, right across from the school.
Yeah.
Right, that's also a high school. It's not just a Melrose trading post on Sundays.
The Sunday flea market.
This is the flea market where you buy crystals and stuff.
Where you go again?
People will get educated. Right. Cool, Jess. So it's at that home. There's about 100 seniors at any given time, and they're rotating. But it's developing a relationship, match you with a senior, and then you'd go hopefully once a month at least.
You know, I'm sorry. I think last year, I just had a memory flop in. I think I called you or something and left a message because my family we were doing Christmas here, and we like to do volunteer work on Christmas Day. And I was like, hey, Jess,
yes,
give me something to do.
Yeah.
And I had remembered that, and somehow it just wasn't like a
right
3 or 4 days went by. You're like, oh, I just got
right.
this. And
I'm
I was
terrible
like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So thanks for letting us talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I want to sign up.
Yes,
but B, I did
awesome.
have that fleeting memory of like having the opportunity to go out and sit with somebody. And what I'm doing now, specifically, sitting down and having a face-to-face, I just feel like you can learn so much from other people.
Yeah.
I'm in a place right now where I have so many questions. I feel like I'm just going to try to live the question instead of looking for answers and try to find them in other people. Just with all the kind of stress and anxiety that can come out there, I'm going to quit trying to tell myself what to do a little bit.
Yeah, there's this amazing quote. This is just this beautiful writer, and she said, there are years that ask and there are years that answer. And so many years you're living in the question, curious, seeking. And then there are the years that you're just...
in flow, probably.
Like receiving, probably. Yeah. Or however you interpret that. Yeah, it's an interesting thing with the seniors. I think culturally, it's just very different. My mom is from Japan. My dad is Russian. I grew up in a home that's very... full of very different cultures, but something I see a lot, especially in my mom's culture, and I think it really is common in many outside of the States, is just the amount of respect and care for elders. Obviously, it's a generalized statement to say that doesn't exist here because every family is individual and every relationship is. But as a whole, I think even from the way we market things and youth is prized, and in other cultures it's revered. The elders are served first. The elders are the source of wisdom because they've been here the longest, and they're treated with care and celebrated in a different way. There's a community in Japan where you turn 90 and every year after that they have a parade for you versus like
that's adorable.
You're not dismissed. And so I think and that does a lot for longevity too, I think, and that's why there are certain areas where you live longer because yes, it's the
happiness.
Food and all that stuff, but it's the happiness and feeling like you still have value, know.
Relationships are the true like gold currency.
100%. Yeah.
And having strong relationships older in life give you more value and happiness and something to live for.
Right.
And it's simple as that sometimes.
Right.
I think we can complicate it.
Yes. We can complicate anything. I can complicate anything.
At the end of the day, like the social and relationship part is everything. And my mom's getting older too. I was aware that you had outside the typical age range parents, but my mom's got a sister that's struggling right now with end of life stuff, and I made the comment today to a friend that this has now crept into my mom's sister. Like the grandparents have gone, so now I'm of the age and my mom's of the age and they're of that age, and I think it makes you look at how are you going to take care of them.
Right.
And so I really admire the work that you're putting into these programs to get people involved. And it seems like you've made a big commitment, but also gave yourself some space to kind of still be involved in so many other things.
I mean, it's hard. I think I didn't want to do this for a while because it's hard to walk into any condition like that and just see. I think there's... And sometimes the way I feel like we fade out of our physical bodies can be very cruel. It can, it doesn't have to be, but sometimes it feels like hard to process. And especially when you're personalizing it really heavily with, what your own family might be going through. But I had a mentor when I was creating the program that said, like, okay, so how many seniors are in the home, and how many people would you potentially be partnering up with, a relationship? And say, okay, and so how many years have you had this idea and have you not done it? And I said, so, 2-3 years or whatever. And he's like, okay, so say this many rotate. So this is how many seniors did not have someone who were impacted from you not doing this.
Gotcha.
I was like, because then you give me a real number. I was like, oh no.
I could have helped so many.
Yeah. And so the point is, if there's something that you want to, be a part of.
Take action.
Yeah. And the requests are very simple. Like the things that they ask is, some people are, can you just come and hold my hand? I don't want to talk. Just sit here. Can you help me brush my hair? Can you take me outside? Because a lot of these places are government funded and there's not that many employees. So I don't have time to spend more than 5 minutes a week with each senior. Yeah. And so someone to come and, give them. Jason Markarian did it, actually. Yeah.
We talked about it, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, again, very admirable. You are definitely an empath, and he got you. So
empath for sure.
For sure. Yeah. Well, there's another thing I wanted to kind of also bring up today, which is something I've seen you do for multiple years, and I think it's more also of a group setting that's done it, and that's your foundation to go and build schools. Mm-hmm. And again, I didn't want to do a ton of research because you've been doing this for a while, and it's also with a community, if I'm not correct, or is this something?
Yes.
Okay.
So the organization is called Build On, and the way they're set up, the way my, that joke where it's like, the way my bank account is set up. I can't say set up without saying that. The way it's set up is that you get a group of people, and you fundraise yourself, and you get your butt over somewhere and help build a school. Build On has everything else planned. So the point is just like you gather your own group of people. So sometimes they actually have their own groups too, and you can participate and join theirs. But I, for the last few years, have gone with this pretty much the same group of people. So that's why, it looks like that.
Awesome. So they kind of have all the logistics and
they have everything set up.
Okay. That's probably the hardest part, is trying to, like, if you want to do something, you're like, how do I go to impact a place?
Right.
And choose.
Yeah, and this one's kind of a big conversation, I feel like. Where do I start? Because it has two parts. Part of it is doing work in the States, and the part of it is doing work in other countries. I started in, I think, 2016 or 15 with the first one. And since then, I've, educated myself on a lot more things. I think initially I was like doing a lot of work locally, and I wanted to just like get in and see what I could participate in globally. And the last year or two, I've really just been thinking about the impact that they might be having as, not wanting to participate in volunteerism or being a savior of any kind, volunteerism being like, I'm going to go to a country that I think is a developing world, and I'm speaking not I, but like big I, a developing country, and I'm going to squeeze it in between my vacation, and I'm going to like do some charity work, and I'm helping you. And the saviorism would be because I know better, essentially, because I can help, the worst way of saying it would be civilize you, like, and that's not what at all the intention. That's like the worst way of phrasing that. But the point is like that I may know anything better than what you already are doing. Yeah. This organization I really liked because, first of all, a lot of you really have to look into what you're getting involved in, because a lot of times the money that's being received from donations doesn't go to where they say that's going. It goes to filter.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
This particular one has been awarded this award, the highest award from I'm going to butcher the actual name. So I'm just going to say what it is. But it's like a financial responsibility award. So fiscal responsibility. So it spends 80% of the donations on the actual project, and only, 20% of everything else goes to cost for the organization. Transparency. Yeah. You see where everything is going. Did a lot of research on this, getting involved, and the biggest thing for me, I feel like, was going and making sure that I'm not participating and going and trying to change anyone's ways or do anything and offer anything other than to really just be here and learn. The hope is to provide, the help provide some materials and things like that. But once you get there, it really is like
digging in.
The people there are the people who live there are already like telling us what they need. And we're just here as your guests and, kind of here to just learn how we can and educate ourselves. And you have your traditions that are already in place, and we're just here to help you support that, and if any way we can. So the education isn't like I'm teaching you my religion or my school programming. It's what school programming do you already have in your country? How can we get it to the rural parts? So it's like, it's not building schools that are some sort of, ideology that we are bringing in. It's just other people in the big cities in your area have this already. How do we get it here so that you're also supported?
And they've been doing that. This is an organization that's been around for a while.
It just celebrated the 25th year mark. So that's enough time to really see more of the effect things have too. Because it's, sometimes you put things in place and you don't know if you're making things worse. Like, the last thing, you don't know if when you go and you are purchasing things, you're actually like harming the sustainability of something else, or, changing the ecosystem. And if you do, environment related things, and that's the last thing I would want to do. And I think my team was very big on that too, is we just want to go here and really just be
You set your
guests.
intentions and you come back and you reflect on them so that you make sure
that exactly,
you're doing the right thing and have the right presenting yourself the right way.
Right. Yeah. And being respectful and making clear, obviously there are things that you're just never going to know if we're raised into any type of thinking or system or privilege or whatever. It's really hard to take yourself out of it entirely. The hope is just that you educate yourself as much as you can, go in to do something. This last trip, I almost didn't go, actually, because of all this. I was really, really struggling with it, and was like, am I participating in that, and being someone who is ignorant in these areas? And but I had this like a week before, I talked to a good friend of mine who was in the group, and she's wrestling with the same stuff, and she said, but I would hope that going there and at least just being there, and they're expecting us, and this, just participating.
We're committed.
Is doing less harm, or it's better than just sitting at home and doing nothing at all. We would hope. And so obviously not saying volunteering in countries outside your own is bad. That's not the point. It's just how you do it,
That's a really good point, Jess. And I really appreciate you being vulnerable enough to share it, because that's, we all struggle with, are we doing the right thing? Mm-hmm. And how we make choices to deal with that is individualized, but you can also, like, it was great to hear your friend come in and give you some sage advice. And that's where I hit earlier this year. I left my job for 14 years. Wasn't happy. My soul wasn't being fed. My ego was stoked. And and I was questioning why I was doing what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so that's where this environment came in, and the byproducts that I get to sit with amazing people and listen to their stories. And this is actually a good time for us to take a break, because we're going to have to pause and do the reset. And I think we'll come back and talk about, you had mentioned some of the things that you do to, I guess, observe yourself as you're making the decisions and going through your emotions and what you were struggling with. And I wouldn't mind just coming back and starting with that, especially if you have some sort of practice that you use, or a tool
Yeah.
that helps you with your daily life. So Michael Flower sitting here with Jessica Kemejuk with whylab. Thanks for sticking around. We'll be back in a little bit. You're so cute. Welcome back to the whylab, everybody. Thanks for making the choice to download the episode and come back to the second half with Jessica Kemejuk. And we were just talking about all the things that she's been doing and some of the volunteer work and organizations over the last years. And we ended talking about sort of some self-reflection and making choices about whether you're doing the right thing. And my question was, do you have some sort of spiritual guidance or a tool or a meditative mantra or something that you do to help you get through some of those tough times? Choices?
Yes, for sure. I feel like over the years, it's like a tool bag, and you just bloop, 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 and you keep stocking up, and you never know when you're going to need certain things. When it comes to reflecting on decisions like that, I think the number one thing is just trusting, like really, really knowing what feels right. And that's a physical feeling. I feel like that I think we all have and can dial towards or away from at any time. So I think the main thing for me has been, number one, I trust myself. So does something feel right? Does something feel wrong?
Your gut.
Yeah, my gut. And so if it doesn't feel right, it's just going to like physically make me not good to the point where I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's when the tools come into play, where I feel like the gut is like, hello, I'm going to let you know. You can pretend. Or, I can be very in my head. So I think the main thing is to separate the difference. For me, it's just been a long practice of, am I in my head because I'm doing like this talking at 100 miles an hour thing and they're not real thoughts, or are these valid thoughts? And I think that just a way of separating that and knowing the difference is really just creating space for it. I think that's the main thing, is knowing the difference between all of your voices, which makes me sound very crazy, but we all have them.
Knowing the difference between all of your
there's like the voice that's like your
Yeah.
mom. There's the voice that's society. There's the voice that's my insecurity. There's the voice that's, whatever. They all, there's so many. They all have different faces, and they're just shifting all the time.
That's a great way to say it. I've never thought about it like that. But it's, if you have the ability to filter and recognize, you're like, oh, this is who I'm talking to right now.
Yes. And there are certain ones you're very familiar with where you're like, I don't say stuff like that. I know who you are.
Oh my God.
Like, we're going to talk about this.
Stick around. I got something for you.
Yeah, exactly. And usually it's just like, okay, I hear you, got it. You sit over here. And this all sounds very crazy. But I think that's the main thing, is just, what can I do to clear everything else just to get back to me? And I'm big on, I don't know how, open we're getting in these areas, but I'm big on prayer. And for me, it's, I genuinely see it as a form of communication. And so if we can strip it all away, the peanut gallery's over here, and I can just listen, and then it always comes, So I think, again, the big thing is making space. So that's going to be different for everybody. For me, it looks like going outside and just not being stimulated, because the stimulation will really get in there and muddle things up.
I definitely could agree with that. I found a place called Crystal Lake Campground a couple of years ago, right above the San Gabriel Reservoir.
Oh.
It's sort of a destination for
Crystal
Lake Campground.
I remember that from high school.
I was going to say, you probably...
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
But you go up there, and they have a little cafe. It's no cell service. I think it's about 6,000 feet. And I can go up there with my dog and just do a solo night. Leave.
Yeah.
It's an hour and a half up there. And so I guess this will be the second full year. Well, last year. Last 2 years, that's been if I've got something really weighing me down and I need solitude and just getting away from the noise and I can't get out of town, that's been my quick little go-to. Because the physical side, like I have some tools that I use on the going inward and the mental side, but like physically, it's just hard when there are helicopters and sirens.
Sure.
Floating
Yeah.
by. And
What are some of your practices that you have, like some of the tools that you have to get in?
A counting breathing thing I started when I was young that my mom had me doing at night to go to sleep.
Mom had you doing it? Amazing. Like a 4-6 count kind of thing?
Well, she had we would do deep breaths and count and release pieces of my body. So she would like, take deep breath and release your toes.
Mom!
Take a deep breath.
Wait, what does your mom do for a living?
She's a home economics major.
I mean,
So
I was like, is she some sort of like body movement? That's amazing.
She would
And they
die.
teach, you like pay money to people to teach you this like release and tense and release thing.
I talked about this on a podcast a couple weeks ago too, because we were talking about meditation. I was with a yogi, obviously, and she said the same thing, and I'm like, I guess I never thought about how cool that was.
I've paid for those, like, so I'm saying people pay. I've paid to learn these things.
So yeah, and as I've gotten older, I found the yin practice. So the stillness practice came into my life, and also when I would do like some running or something long distance, like sometimes just getting into a breathing rhythm and counting would be a way for me to get into my head and become more of an observer. And then I get into, I don't like have a mantra or anything, but I just kind of try to be grateful and happy. And then I have images of places that I've been or serene type of places that are calming. Or one place for me is, it's called the Blue Cave. I was in Turkey, and I'll just never remember jumping off the boat and being underwater and just looking around and just sitting there. I almost felt like I was breathing underwater.
Wow.
And it was just floating. And so I try to go there.
Yeah.
And
so
that
this
helps.
is when you're in a state of like distress, essentially.
If I needed to stop all the voices.
Yeah, got it.
And if there's so many voices, I can't go. You're over there.
For sure. Yeah, and I think you're right. When it's like when it's something that might not be super triggering, it's easier to just say like, okay, let's do the Minority Report thing and separate it all. But
I'm just glad I got the vision now, because you keep doing
it's
this
a real
with your
thing.
hand.
It's a Minority Report. But when it's like a high, very intensely impacting situation, you just can't do that sometimes, and so sometimes it's gonna look very crazy and messy and. Yeah, that's really great that you have all that. I think the physical part I really resonate with too. I know that, they talk about animals and pronking. You know this?
Pronking?
So when I know it sounds like a dance move. Kind of it is. When animals are are being hunted and, their prey, and they're like, say, whatever gets hunted in the forest and is being chased and is about to get eaten.
Pretend you're being hunted.
Yeah. Pretend you're being hunted, and then you get away.
Yeah.
And now you still have all this like adrenaline and all the things running in your body. Animals pronk, which just means like they move and they get it all out of their system, and then they release and they forget. Where we will be like, I was impacted when I was 5 years old, and I'm still holding on to this trauma. I need therapy. I need plant medicine. I need blah, blah, blah. And they like shake it off. And so I learned that from one of my teachers a few years ago, that where like if something sits with me like that, I'll literally just like shake it off. Not to quote
I love
what's her name? Taylor Swift.
Every day's a school day. I know. I was like sitting around. I'm like, T Swift money.
Yeah, exactly. Ching. But yeah, and you can you physically release.
That's interesting.
Which is important.
I've never heard anybody say that before.
Try
like,
it.
what do you?
I'm totally I made it up, and I'm setting you up, and then there's like, you're just gonna be like
I'm gonna put a
pronking.
camera and be like, Jess. Whatever. I don't even know what
Pronking.
Pronking.
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this.
Yeah,
Pronking.
yeah.
So can you just like?
I think
jump
it's
in
for
the air
you,
and-
however you feel like you're getting it out. I think it's the same effect as like when you're mad and you hit your pillow or your mattress or whatever. It's the same, but it's kind of just like, I'm not going to do it now because I'm
a
going
real
to knock
physical
everything
thing.
down. But it's literally like shaking off that, but there's
awesome.
a physical thing that happens that's not just the emotional thing that
yeah.
happens, which is why they do it. And obviously brains are set up a little different where we, remember things in a different way, but in the same way that they don't carry residual trauma from being hunted, things like that. So
Thanks, Jess.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. It makes sense too, because I spend a lot of time with my dog, and you do see her like
Shake it off.
Yeah. And then the white eyes come. You're like,
they come
what?
back. Yeah.
Like, what'd you just do? Right?
Yeah.
I was like, where did you go?
Yeah.
Happy dog.
Happy
Hey,
dog.
thank you.
What a gift dogs are, and a reminder of unconditional, like
She's
a true dropped from or risen from whatever. Just
best thing has happened to me lately is my little animal.
Mm-hmm. Sky. Yeah.
She's not here today. There's so much going
sad.
on. So I know she hasn't seen you in a while.
I pulled up and I was like, I get to see Sky.
Oh God, no.
She's busy. She's out.
She's
got the
She's with her friends.
So it happens when they get older.
Dad needed a staycation, whatever. I needed a day off. It's a busy day today.
Yeah.
And but I'm just it's been. I don't know. Dogs, dude, they give you that something that.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody knows. I don't even know if I should even try to put words to it. It's so
it's fascinating to me that there's just there are beings that exist like this for that just exist to remind us what it's like to live in that that pure state all the time. Yeah. Bliss,
flow, and just loyal and love and I'll do anything you want and love you for it. Kind of thing.
Yeah. I was like, if everyone could just greet you the way a dog would greet you if you leave the house for 5 minutes. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I had somebody at the dog park the other day that was talking about this because she works like a 9 to 5. And right now I'm just kind of in my house. Mm-hmm. And she's like, when I come home, it's like all hell has broken loose. And she goes, she's the 7 years as a dog year. She goes, just imagine, 8 hours is like 56 hours. She's like, it's like 2.5 days. And I started dying laughing. I was like
they've been waiting for you.
Every day is like 2.5 days for your dog. And so,
oh my gosh.
Now that I've been coming home, I'm like, if I'm gone for an hour, I was like, was that like a full day, babe? I was like, that was a whole
that was like 2 days. I haven't talked to you. Where did you go?
I thought it was a funny perspective. She put herself in her dog's
That's so great.
brain. It was like, but you've been gone for 2 days.
Have you seen that? It was went viral or something. This dog. Somehow they were recording the dog, and they showed how he reacted once his owner. I hate to say owner, but his left the home, and how he just thought the dog was sitting there and sleeping and was fine and waiting for him, and then you see the whole he goes to the laundry and he's like. He's crying in the laundry and he's going out the window and then he's waiting over here and he does this for hours and then he gets so exhausted that he goes back to the door and falls asleep. So when she walks in, she's like, you've just been at the door the whole day. But then you see what he's been doing the whole day.
That's such a great story. You know? And that reminds me of it's the empath. You never know what somebody's going through. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. It's sometimes you can't always see the positive that's out there, and the negative is impactful as well when you're trying to, be happy and get through things. You're setting expectations is important. Mm-hmm. But expectations for a dog, or you're just gonna get the happiness all the time. Yeah. So it is kind of a blessing. I don't know what, if I didn't have a dog in my life right now, it would be, can I borrow somebody's dog for a day kind of thing? And although I think Sky and I are gonna start fostering. So,
nice.
Yeah, get a dog for a couple weeks or a month or two.
Yeah.
She's of the age where she's 5.5 and is not so crazy. And I think can handle being a mentor.
Company. Yes, being a mentor. Yes.
Well,
show you the ropes.
Actually, that word that I triggered earlier, you were talking about the big brother, big sister. Did you grow up with a big sister, big brother in the program?
No.
Oh, okay. Mm-mm. So as a single child, that you went kind of and yearned for that a little bit. Is that?
Oh yeah. My gosh. Yes. Only child through and through. It's interesting what it does for your personality. Where you're like, I know that I'm naturally, my makeup is I'm an extrovert, so I'm energized when I'm around people. Mm-hmm. But because I'm an only child, I need my alone time. So it's not the same way an introvert might need it. I don't need it to recharge, but I need it to just do stuff.
That's who you are.
Yeah. And that's from, and so, but with that, it was just I remember I was like, can I just have an older brother? I'd like to order one older brother, please. And my parents were like, well, I don't know how it's going to work. But I was like, you could adopt one. It would work. Definitely perks of being an only child for sure. But also, always wanted siblings for sure. So
that's why you've committed to doing these types.
Yeah. I think I think ultimately, only child or not, I think we just as people crave connection, which is the entire reason for being an actor. Is just like, I just want to connect and like see what's sitting in front of me and like what's going on with you and how can we meet. And sometimes that connection looks like a wall between it, but that's still a connection. Like that's still a form of connection. And sometimes it's strained, but it's still participating in being a human, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the part about wanting to have a little sister was just a big thing for me. I met a good friend of mine at the time, was very involved in the program, and I saw the relationship that he had with his little brother, and really it was just watching that and seeing like, oh, you can have that relationship with some. Obviously there are people that you meet that become like sisters and brothers and stuff, but
Friends.
I've never had anyone that's like a huge age gap like that, because I don't have cousins or anything really either that are young. So
Small family, only child.
Small family, only child. Other cousins were way older, way older than me now. And so I just didn't grow up with that. And I think at a certain point I realized it's like, oh, I'm not here to teach anybody, but I do feel like I have thoughts on how to possibly navigate what can be a difficult time for a young girl, going through high school and understanding yourself. And I've been through a lot as, growing up, and I feel like hopefully that can land somewhere, not forcing advice anywhere, but if there's a question or questions that need to be asked, then I would love to be able to, help how I can.
Yeah.
And also build a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, for you to be able to take action in so many different areas, the meet the seniors, the provide for the seniors, the difference of those two things. And you mentioned being the big sister, we're just talking about that. And the build on, and then the groups that you latch onto. I know you have some really tight groups of friends, and friends become family. And I think for whatever the reasons are in our youth, if we crave that, it's from something. For me, it was a traumatic experience, but an only child has their own needs. Point being, it's super admirable to create and put out into the world places where you said that you're doing it to help and just provide, but B, you see that and you've had self-evaluation about you're doing this for the right reasons. I don't think it doesn't seem as if you're doing it just to, pardon the French, get off on it.
I hope not. I mean,
like
we never know what subconsciously we're doing, but I hope not. I think,
in your conscious world.
In my conscious choices, I think it's really just me being hungry to be around people. And like that's kind of the bottom line.
When you're a kid, your thoughts are pretty damn pure. And so if you're craving something and you've gone out and found it and you know what makes you happy, and then you're like, well, oh man, I can create some more happiness around these other things and hopefully impact somebody in a good way. It's like the definition of so your consciousness is telling you this, which is awesome. I agree with your consciousness.
I think the hope is to not go in and, I'm definitely, since I was little, at the elementary school that I went to, they had us the option to, my parents worked a lot, so after school we had an option to do other things, and the Shriners Hospital was down the street, and I think I was 9, and so we could also sign up to go to the hospital and volunteer a time and play with kids. But the crazy thing is Shriners Hospital is a children's hospital, so there's other kids and they're my age. So I'm playing now with there's the burn unit and people who have gone through really hard things, and then I'm sitting here, same age as you, not offering anything but my time, and hope. Like I think the hope is never to go in and I think if I were thinking on a bigger context, like if I were creating a program that was like creating schools or creating jobs or something, I'm thinking impact. But I think for me, it's just been really just spending time. And I know like love languages and stuff, right? Mine is a huge one of mine outside of touch is quality time. So that's how I receive love. And so I think that's how I'm hoping that it can be received the other way. And just sometimes you don't need anything other than someone just to sit next to you. And I think with the foundation of just wanting to understand anyone outside of myself, whether in a hospital or down the street from me, I think that's the foundation of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just connecting.
Exactly. Just hungry because I was an only child and I want to be around people and I love like family environments and, you know.
Well, we even talked about some of our first, or I brought it up about sitting around watching
it's
the
like
Clash
my
of Clowns.
favorite
And I was
time.
like, oh yeah, that was the best time ever watching Clash of Clowns.
Exactly.
What did I say? Guys, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. What did you call it?
Game of Clans?
Are you playing a video game?
Yeah. You call, isn't that a game?
That Clash of
Clans.
Something.
Yeah. Anyway, we weren't playing a video game, but yeah, that's those memories, and I think are the ones that keep us the happiest, and creating more of them throughout the life that we're currently living is part of the journey. I mean, so what are you doing now? I mean, right now, is all this still current? Are you still doing like some editing and
I do some editing. I think the main focus for the bigger part of the last 8-9 years has been the acting, and the producing has taken place the last
we didn't even
3 or 4 years.
Get involved. You produced and did you direct a film or did
no,
you film?
I definitely have not ventured into that
no,
yet.
That's not me.
No. Yeah, no, it's just I think we're in a place where you have the ability to make your own content and have it be seen. I really admire people who are doing that kind of thing all the time. I haven't been like, I haven't written my own stuff or anything like that. I've been helping other people create their movies.
Cool.
But through that learning and watching, and then, moving towards creating my own, not necessarily writing, but producing. Yeah. Because I think there are stories that I really want to be told, and I know that I'm very vested in how they're told, specifically from stories about my heritage. So, just working on some stuff with that right now.
Awesome.
I think a big thing is just we're in a time that obviously still can use lots and lots and lots of growth, but things are shifting in terms of representation of people of color and people of all kinds of different backgrounds, women who are older, women who are, just people that are not the generic thing that generic may not be the best way to say it, but the typical thing that we've been seeing. It's shifting. All kinds of stories are being told.
I agree.
And I think we're in a better place than we've ever been, and making that come to life. People are paying attention in a different way. So I feel very happy to be part of the zeitgeist right now, that we're things like obviously there's a lot of work to be done, but we're in a place where some voices that have not been heard are starting to get heard. And I want to be part of that.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's the coolest thing. That's the coolest thing. I'll just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. And being part of the movement, and a good movement, and an important movement, which is shifting. I 100% agree on just a pure good level, because I don't fall into the big movements that are happening, but I would say in regards to creating content was one of the real priorities of doing this, and why I'm recording it now is that audio is one thing, and not everybody has jumped into the podcast world yet and participates, but a lot of people are seeing video content on the internet. And so it was my goal to be able to sit down and have, some vulnerable conversations and be okay to shed a few layers. You don't have to have the walls and be defensive. The stereotypes or the male, female, whatever that is, those can just break down, and we can just try to connect and be complimentary and share some happiness and some things that we're doing along the way. So that I really love and admire what you were just saying. And
I mean,
go girl. Go.
It's an interesting, I feel like everyone probably feels this about their generation, but it's an interesting time that we're, where I think a lot of things are coming to a head, and a lot of things are bursting through, and
I had somebody describe it the other day as, well, I'll predicate the statement. I was saying that we're in such a hyper time where even the good movements have hyper-polarized people that don't represent the actual movement. And so you see polarization and angst amongst.
Polarize is a very great way to say, to kind of label a lot of what's happening.
And I had thought that I would see more of a shift in the opposite direction during my lifetime. And she goes, well, maybe we're in the midst of chaos before great change is chaos. Mm-hmm. Maybe take a deep breath. I was like, okay, well, I have hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have hope for us all.
Yeah, the mining process, right? The refining process can be hard. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think for anybody listening now, if the takeaway might be, find the things that are important to you, go back, find your memories, what was important to your youth, surround yourself by those type of environments and activities, and, be present and trust your gut. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, hopefully the takeaway from any of this is that we're trying to do good things for ourselves and others.
Yeah, I have to say to you too, and commend you for just the phone call that I was in Miami. We were texting and you were asking about if I knew any editors. And then I talked to you on the phone, and just to hear you, obviously knowing you for a long time, and then hearing you, you're like, I'm done with it all. I'm following my heart. And this is what it's like. I've never heard you. It's not that you didn't sound it before, but just this like cracked open, elevated, just excited place that you're in. And it's like, this is exactly, you were reminding me in that moment, and you're continuing to remind me now. It's just, that's what's important, right? Like we have all these things we can buy and jobs we can do. And but the point is, if it's not making you happy, which it was not making you happy, which you didn't realize at a certain point, and and then you did, is just, this is what it's about. And I think that's so brave of you to do that and make that shift when everything else is just like going very well. Yeah. A lot of times we're forced to make changes because things are hard, and that wasn't it for you. So to be able to see that like things were externally going well and still make a jump like that is very, very big.
I appreciate the kind words, because I'll tell you that the ebbs and flows of the emotions and trying to deal with life on top of the choice that I made to put myself in this position now is it ebbs and flows. And my goal is to have that, maintain kind of that peace about it, and observe myself as I go through it, because again, I'm not craving anything other than just kind of connecting with people and hoping to share experience with them. So today has been awesome. We're kind of winding down. What I like to do at the end of the podcast is a final four. So I have
a final four.
Final four questions.
Okay, got it.
And you can answer with one word or a sentence or whatever.
Okay.
But I thought this
I've not been prepped. No, just kidding.
So the first question of the final four is, what's the greatest risk that you've taken in your life?
The greatest risk, definitely, right out of college, I was working as a red carpet reporter that somehow fell into my lap, and I was doing red carpet stuff at ABC. And when you're 21 and you just got this job that's very cushy and coveted by a lot of people, it's easy to just like, for me, I was like, okay, well, this is the path. I'm going to go to grad school and I'm going to study journalism, and that's where we're going to go. The Voice, since I was little, was like, but wait, you wanted to be an actor. And I was like, oh. But I was like, well, we're already doing this. Like, this is the way we're going to do it. Yeah. This is entertainment related, this kind of thing. And I remember I was sitting in an interview with Forrest Whitaker, who his kids went to my elementary school. So there's a little bit of a connection there, and it just randomly this beautiful interview happened, and I was asking him these questions, and I was completely going off what I was supposed to be asking. I was supposed to be like, what are you wearing? And whatever the 3 questions that you're always supposed to ask, otherwise they can't use anything. And I was asking acting questions, and he gave me the most beautiful answers as you would expect Forrest Whitaker would give you. And I was like, I want to be there working with you in a different capacity than here. So I left a very nice job. I didn't do it. That was 21. I got it. I didn't leave it until I was like 23.
Yeah. So you left a cushy job to follow your heart.
Cushy that a lot of people wanted, but I also felt like as I was sitting in these interviews and doing them, and I started to hate what I was doing because it was actually just close enough to like sniff what I, like people who are doing what I wanted to be doing. It was worse almost, I feel like. And then I was like, I'm also taking someone else's dream because there are a lot of people that want to be doing this job, and and there's one spot here. So
that's great.
I left and I went to acting school. And that was a big risk because then I was like, am I supposed to be a waiter now? Or like, what am I supposed to do right now?
Yeah. Isn't that?
Yeah. Like, what am I doing? That wasn't saving. Yeah. That's what 21-year-olds don't do sometimes.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Good point. Oh, that's a great answer.
Yeah. But it's so worth it.
Question number 2.
Yes.
What's the least expensive thing that you could not do without?
The least expensive thing. So is this like an existential question? Like things that are not seen by the heart, or is this like an actual, like you want an actual item that
would say
could be
something
purchased?
you have, yes.
That I could not do without. Yeah. What an interesting question. I'd be so curious to see how other people have answered this. A notepad. That's kind of, I need to write thoughts. If I type my thoughts or just say them in my head, it doesn't compute, it doesn't leave my body, it doesn't form into anything I have. I need pen to paper. So like if you told me I could never if you told me I could never cross off another list again or if you told me I couldn't like jot down a thought, I don't know who I would be.
I think you found your least expensive your list.
How have some people, what is, like, give me like the best one that you've heard.
I have other videos.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Great answer. So question number 3 is, when you have a first child, I'm going to just go there. Mm-hmm. Who gets to name, if you had to select your mom or your dad to name your child, who would it be?
If my parents were going to name and either one had to pick.
A or B. You and your partner don't get to pick.
I have my heart answer. And then I have my technical answer. My heart answer is my mom, because there's a whole backstory I don't really need to get into right now, but just I feel like she so quietly carries everything and lets my dad and I have the same birthday, and I was supposed to be born on hers, and like that is very representative of like she's kind of just always given us the space to do us, and my dad and I are very similar and like, cut from the same cloth, and my mom is just like, she's there and she's grounded, I don't feel like, I think sometimes when someone's doing well and knows how to take care of themselves, you don't pay attention to them as much. And I feel like I would want to give her that and like show, see, and she's also the most like one of the most thoughtful, wise people. I think that really comes from her culture too. So I'd be very interested to see what she comes up with. But at the same time, the technical thing is that she might give like she might also, sometimes she just likes to do things that are cute. And she might just pick something as like, something's like kind of silly and cute. So, or my dad might give a name that, other people
you trust
might
your
have
dad
heard of.
to give you the name that you think you...
Yeah. He might give like a cool jazz name or something because he's like a jazz musician, but, Yeah.
All right, last question. As an actress, if you had a film coming out this weekend that was your biography, what's the title of the film and who's the lead actress?
But besides I can't be the lead?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay. But I wanted to know. I think this is, who would you pick?
What's the title of the film? I would call it For My Parents. And I think I would make it like a a story as like a letter to them of, you know, the impact that they've had on me, but the legacy that they, you know, that the both cultures have had on me and them as people, and just whoever the main character of the world is showing up as. The lead actor, I would like it to be played by two people, because I do feel like there's a huge duality inside of me that also is represented by the mixed ethnicity, but I feel like I'd want a guy and a woman. Who would they be?
Interesting. Your answer is you want two, but you're
I
not
know
sure.
I want two, but I don't know who. It's the most Libra answer you're ever going to get.
You said one, I'll take another.
Yeah, exactly. Balanced. I don't know. I mean, God, because we just talked about Forrest Whitaker, like how cool would that be if you just had a story that was completely non-linear? And yeah, that's hard for me. I would want like and then I would get like an obscure, maybe like a child, like a child who's never done a movie before, who's just like been plucked out of somewhere and like play the lead and like supported by everyone else.
You literally are a storyteller.
My
You just
brain
created roles for everybody. You're like, oh, yeah, okay, that's the cast. Let's go.
That would be cool. You know, not so on the nose. See what happens.
Yeah, that's. I love that answer.
Maybe have like a sliding door situation with two stories that intersect, and it's just like both parts of yourself. You know.
That's interesting. I never thought that would be an answer.
I didn't either. This is what happens when you put me on the spot. Weird things come out.
Well, here we are, Jess, shutting her down. This has been awesome. I got to be honest. I really love connecting with you today. It's been too long.
Same.
And I appreciate you sharing with everybody.
Yeah.
All the fans. And it's. I hope everybody that's still listening could resonate a little bit with us today. And thanks again for making the choice to tune in to whylab. I'm Michael Flowers, finishing up here with Jessica Kemejuk.
Thank you.
I think we get past time.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I don't care.
Do you have audio, though? Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.